Hello there. So the Ascent VRX has been out for quite a while now. People out there are happily using it. But when it first arrived, there was a lot of confusion around what it's for, who it's for, how to mount it on goggles and tripods. People seemingly having difficulty doing that. But the dust seems to have settled on it now. There's many people out there now happily using it. And I thought now would be a good time to share two of the ways in which I use it, and a third which I originally had set up to use, which I haven't actually had the need for. So here's the first one. Let's have a closer look at it. So when the VRX was first released, and a few of the YouTube reviewers were looking at it, they were seemingly having trouble mounting it to a tripod. Now, this is a tripod that I've had in my garage for about 2 years now. I bought it off Amazon. It's actually a little light stand for, I guess, making vlog videos or that kind of thing. But as you can see, it perfectly fits up in there, and there's plenty of space between the tripod 1/4 inch screw and the cables, so it fits perfectly fine. And I looked on eBay recently and on Amazon, and you can still pick up these stands. You can actually get two of them for like 12 quid, so they're no cost at all. This is the way I usually have it set up when I want to run with my goggles. This is just a cable I had off an old analog pair of goggles, which just runs down to that battery that's just strapped in there. I power my goggles, which I have currently around my neck, in the usual way with a cable and the battery in my pocket. And then the HDMI to mini HDMI cable, which is there, which plugs into the goggles. And that's a 2 meter long cable. So I can quickly set that VRX, screw it up onto the tripod, set the tripod somewhere, point it off into the right direction, plug the HDMI in, and I am tethered to it, but I've got kind of 2 meters. I'm not kind of having to stand immediately beside it and feel like I'm being tied to the VRX. So this is just the kind of the first way I set it up. If I'm just wanting to kind of set up quick, plug into the goggles and just have a quick flight. And when I'm doing that, I normally have omnis up on the top. So that's the first one. I'll set up now for the second. Okay, so this is the second way I have it set up, and it's the VRX in conjunction with a 10-inch monitor, which I got from AliExpress for around £25. I do have a 3D printer. I think most people in the hobby do have a 3D printer or access to a 3D printer. Although many of the things that I've printed here, you can actually just buy. For example, the little GoPro tab mount to allow it to connect to the tripod. That's something that I already had in my spares box. Let me just focus on it there. Yep, there we go. And one or two of the other bits are things that I have printed. So in terms of wiring, this is using a normal straight kind of HDMI to HDMI. I think this is one that I found in a box along with a PS3. So that's my old PS3 HDMI cable. And then for powering, I actually just kind of rigged up basically two goggle batteries into a little Y converter, which plugs into the same battery at the bottom. So the single large 3S battery is now powering both of these. The monitor does come with an adapter to power it into mains, and it runs off 12 volts, but it happily runs off a 3S, and I've actually tested it to a 4S and it works fine. But I have a large capacity 3S, so that's kind of what I use. So yeah, again, more or less straightforward. Two goggle power barrel to XT30 or XT60 with a little Y adapter at the bottom, straight into a battery, and a normal HDMI cable. So again, nothing overly complicated to mount it to the tripod. Exactly the same tripod, an off-the-shelf little 1/4 inch threaded tripod adapter to a GoPro mount, and then some little mounts that I was able to find and print. But again, I've looked, and you can buy these off the shelf as well. So not overly complicated either. And in terms of the mounting on the back then, I've created this little flat plate with a little kind of tab. Just focus again. Kind of little tab that hooks on the top and a little tab at the bottom that just about hooks in the bottom. A little bit of friction. So that kind of just hooks over the top and then pops into place. There we go, just clicked. So that's it in place now. It's not going anywhere. And as you can see, I mean, it's not heavy, it's not cumbersome. It's fairly straightforward and self-contained. And finally, the third option, which I don't actually use, is this little faceplate print for the Goggles X. Obviously, the first thing you would think is, for convenience, I'll run it on my goggles. But the 1/4 inch screw was there. I had the tripod. I screwed it in, connected the cable up, and thought, you know what, this is far handier than mounting it to the goggles. Yeah, you don't have the cable running to a tripod, so you don't feel tethered, but you have the extra weight on the front. And of course, if you move your head around, especially with antenna like this, you may kind of move them out of the direction of the quad, especially if you're flying and you tend to move your head down, where the tripod can be pointed in towards a bando at all points or off into the distance with the plane, and it doesn't matter where you're pointing your head, you can still get the signal. So I did design this up and print this with anticipation of using it on the goggles. I think I've done it once and decided actually it's not worth the hassle. Now, I think where the confusion comes, why people want to run it on their goggles, is first of all, they think it's probably the most convenient way, and also because Caddx sent out a short cable and a short DC Y splitter. They shouldn't have done that because it gave mixed messages. Really, let's be honest, the VRX is a tripod mounted device, and by sending off the little cables with it, it gave the impression that, oh well, we're supposed to run this on our goggles. And really, from my testing anyway, this is the least convenient way of doing it. And then just a little additional bit is the print that I have stuck to the back with these Walksnail patch antennas. They're 8 dB, not the highest gain antennas, but a nice mix of range and beam width, so I can go quite far and not have to worry about having perfectly accurate pointing when it comes to being on my tripod. But yeah, anyway, just a quick overview of how I have the Ascent VRX mounted. Oh, and just before I go, one quick other thing. The original Walksnail Avatar VRX, I designed up this front cover with my antenna mounts, and on the back attached the same little clip. So my tripod setup is kind of dual purpose. I can now run the Walksnail on there, straight into the screen, or down and into my goggles if I choose. So yeah, I mean, is this convoluted? Maybe, I guess. No more convoluted than building a quad or gluing a plane, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, that's how I have the VRXs mounted. On the tripod by itself, with the cable into the goggles, on the tripod along with the 10-inch monitor, or on the goggles themselves, which is my least preferred option. But yeah, the files that I've used there, I'll stick in the description. All the best now, take care.